either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Weird MicroViews. I'm Nicho.
And I'm Chris.
And today we are doing what we were hoping would be a wintry one for a very not so wintry winter for us.
Yeah, we wanted to be like seasonal and topical, so we picked one that would evolve with us in this cold 60-degree winter we're having. Damn it.
We decided to do a very classic, classic to us, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
We decided to do 2000's Snow Day.
A Nickelodeon movie.
Yes. Which, for those unfamiliar, because this movie is kind of old at this point,
And honestly, unless you grew up watching Disney Channel and Nickelodeon-style movies, why would you go back and rewatch this?
Not to mention that there was a remake that was done just last year.
I still have questions about that remake because on my way here, we called my parents-in-law and my mother-in-law was like, "Oh, what movie are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, we're going to do Snow Day." And she's like, "The new one?" And I was like, "Why do you know that?"
The amount of movies that they know of the remakes, I am honestly surprised every time.
I think she's a teacher, so I'm assuming that that's her kids are about the demographic age, they're a little on the young side, but she would their siblings would know about this. Why she knows about it though, I really cannot tell you, because I briefly heard about the remake and went, "Oh, that's cute," and immediately deleted it from my mind.
I had no clue about this remake until I was looking up on IMDb Snow Day, and it pulled up Snow Day 2022, and I'm like, all right, I guess we're getting old that they're remaking our childhood movies.
And not even the good childhood movies.
No.
This is, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed this movie when I was a kid and it came out.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed it in the same way that a child watches all Disney and Nickelodeon movies. Briefly.
Yes.
Once.
And so, for those who don't know about the plot of Snow Day at all.
Same.
Snow Day follows a pair of siblings and their dad who set out on separate journeys to make the impossible possible on the most magical of days, a snow day.
So, that is a good description, but to add...
I'm not wrong. That is the plot of this movie.
You're not wrong, but at the same time, it leaves so much stuff out. Because there is effectively...
Oh my god. Yeah,
there's effectively 3 subplots, and theoretically, the siblings' plot is the main, quote-unquote, main plot, but this movie spends the exact amount of time and effort developing all 3 plots, to the point where you legitimately forget what you're watching sometimes.
Yeah,
So, the running theme that you need to know for all 3 subplots is we're in the New York area.
It's a snow day.
It's a snow day. These are middle to high school aged kids. They look high school age to me, but I have been informed recently that I'm now old, so...
Scratch it. I am actually wrong. There is a 4th plot that we forgot.
Which one's that?
The mother and the stay-at-home child.
I forgot about... Yeah, no, there's 4 plots.
So the plot is just a family has journeys on a snow day.
But they're different families, depending on which direction you're looking at.
Yeah, technically, movie-wise, they were the same family, but...
And so, the entire premise, the overarching premise, runs around this idea of they have this perfect snow day. Snow days are wonderful, magical, tee-hee, fairy tale bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't it be great if we had a second one?
Yes.
What if tomorrow was also a snow day?
Okay, I'll give that as the main plot of the daughter of the movie.
And, all of the subplots kind of sort of hinge around this concept, but, some much more than others.
Yeah, and they all just, for the most part, they're all separate and running their own thing, too.
They barely see each other.
Yes.
And they live in the same house.
To be fair, it's a day. The girl can't drive, so she can only get so far. The mom's stuck at home. Dad's doing dad stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions, not gonna lie.
So let's look at the people who made this abomination of a movie.
Yeah, they did it.
I was trying to figure out how to work Abominable Snowman, but
there
close
isn't
enough.
one in this movie, so we're good.
It's directed by Chris Koch, and it's written by Will McRobb and Chris Viscardi. This is the only theatrical movie Koch has done, but he has done quite a few TV movies and shows. He worked on Scrubs, Modern Family, Workaholics, and quite a few more. So he has a relatively successful career, not in movies.
Yes.
As for McRobb, he has written a lot of Nickelodeon projects, or written for a lot of Nickelodeon projects, including Doug, Rocko's Modern Life, Ren and Stimpy, Angus, Thongs and Perfect Snogging, The Tale of Despero, Alvin and the Chipmunks as well.
Boy, that feels like a range.
Yeah.
That feels like a broad stroke.
Well, okay, so here's the thing, because, like, after that weird, like, 80s, 90s cartoon era, a lot of the stuff he's done is, like, very children-friendly.
Okay, well, you know what? Everyone's got to evolve, right?
I mean, Takashi Miike.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I could rope him in almost every conversation we have.
But the thing is, you're not wrong, but also...
Why?
Yeah.
As for Viscardi, he also wrote for Thongs and Perfect Snogging, The Tale of Despero, Alvin and the Chipmunks, as well as Bravest Warriors.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, this movie has a weird range of actors. It stars Chevy Chase, Mark Webber, Gene Smart, Xena Gray, Chris Elliott, and quite another group of people, including a guest appearance from Iggy Pop.
Yes. Okay, so for the time periods, early 2000s / late 90s, having stars in your Disney or Nickelodeon film was not super weird. In fact,
it's still not that weird.
It's still not, but, like, even back then, we knew that the stars who were on this show were, like, not for us.
No.
Like, Chevy Chase, who was in an absolute bonkers amount of, like, children's movies for no goddamn reason. Because, like, we didn't know who he was. Like, you would recognize him from other Disney movies or other Nickelodeon movies, but, like, as a kid, you weren't following Chevy Chase's career.
I think I only really know him from Christmas Vacation as a kid.
Yeah,
like that's about it. And honestly, like, Christmas Vacation's not
really a kid's movie.
Looking back at it, this is throwing both my parents under the bus. We watched that as relatively young, I think.
Yeah, same, because my dad remembered liking it and, like, had forgotten all of the not appropriate parts.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, and so, like, a lot of these stars, for the most part, you weren't watching because you as the kid was, like, interested in watching them. But, like, I never really have, like, found confirmation saying that, like, oh, well, we've hired these people to get the adults in.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't seem to be the thing either, because half of these movies, even if they did show up in theaters, which this one did make it to theaters, a lot of these didn't, though. A lot of these were just for TV or just for DVD. And even on top of that, like, early 2000s, you weren't having to, like, bribe your parents to get you movie tickets. That was pretty easy.
Okay, so...
You had special tickets.
No, I was in Germany.
Yeah.
So this movie wasn't going to be showing in Germany.
No, it definitely was not world-renowned, that's for damn sure. But, like, so, like, a lot of these adult actors, I still don't really know why they were in
paycheck.
Probably, honestly.
That's most likely what it is. Like, it's like what Michael Caine in Jaws, where they're like, have you seen the movie? Nope. Well, why? Jaws 4 specifically.
Yes.
He's like, nope, but it bought me a house.
You know what? Yeah, that's probably exactly what.
Yeah, someone needed a down payment on something.
Yeah, that's exactly. Because, like, yes, now as an adult, I know who these people are. I have seen several of their other works. As a child, when this movie came out, I had no idea who any of these people were.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Well, and that's the thing, too. Like, I mean, I knew Chevy Chase.
I knew of him. I knew his face.
I didn't know Iggy Pop either.
I knew the name because it was on the radio, but, like, I wasn't, like, following him. I wasn't, like, a big fan.
I know a lot more about him now because of No Dogs in Space coverage of the Stooges.
Yeah, that would help.
I know a bit about him now, but I was honestly surprised with looking at how the kids have gone to do quite a bit of other work outside of this.
Yes.
Because honestly, there's quite a lot. Like Weber, who plays Hal, the main dude of the movie. He is one of the neo-Nazis in the green room. He's Steven Stills in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Yes, he is.
And he's Gabrielle in Anti-Birth, which I'm sure a lot of people haven't seen that but me.
But it's not like all these kid actors or young adult actors dropped off the face of the earth. Like, they continued on. They, like, a lot of them had great careers. Yeah,
Fisk, who plays the love interest, is in quite a few movies. I don't know them. Gray, who portrays Natalie, the daughter, is in The Shaggy Dog, House, My Soul to Take. Josh Peck needs no introduction.
No, not really.
And I did not realize I was somewhat familiar with Cricries, the girl who plays the main goal of the male protagonist.
Yes, the love interest.
She is in The Crow the Wicked Player, You Don't Mess with the Zohan, Wrong Turn, Super Troopers 2.
Yes, she is.
And the absolute garbage fucking Christmas movie I watched for garbage Christmas movies, not last year, but the year before, technically now.
Okay.
The Night Before Christmas.
That's right!
Yes!
I'd forgot!
I know, right? But I'm surprised, like, how much I've seen that she's been in, too, so...
Yeah, you know, now that you mention it, I am familiar with her works. I had not connected those dots.
No, not at all, because I really hadn't seen her in anything since, like, middle school or elementary school to college.
Yeah, no, very, very fair point.
Yeah. But yeah, God, okay, we're gonna get into this movie, because it's
a mess.
Shit show.
It really is.
I mean, so, first off, I didn't realize, and I have a post coming out on this on Tuesday for the posters.
Yes.
But Nickelodeon had a weird range of movies.
Yes, it sure did.
Especially up until, I want to say, like, the early 2000s.
Uh-huh. Yeah, like almost 2010s.
Yeah, like that, Thongs and Perfect Snoggings. That's a Nickelodeon movie.
Yes, it sure is. Why? I have no idea.
I don't know. I mean, Nacho Libre's in this list, too, so...
Okay, so I have a small theory on this. So, at this time, Disney had really, like, cornered the whole, like, wholesome family, but really, like, quick and dirty, instant money sort of movie.
Okay.
And Nickelodeon knew that they had to also do that. They were the top Disney Channel competitor.
Mm-hmm.
But they also didn't want to be only there to battle Disney, right? So they did aim at that, like, high school to, like, first couple years of college target range.
Okay.
Because Disney hadn't been doing that. The few movies that Disney would aim would be, like, super wholesome. Even the little ones could watch it, like Angels in the Outfield sort of thing. Where, yeah, there's no bad language happening. There's no risky humor. It's, you know, maybe not, like, a kid probably wouldn't choose to watch this film, but if they watched it, it's okay. Their parents could get them to watch it. But Nickelodeon knew they were already, like, aiming themselves in the, like, oh, well, we do slime and we have bad humor.
Okay.
Even though it was all, like, very family friendly and just fine, they were, like, the cool kid, quote unquote. So I can see why they chose to take on some of the more risky sort of style.
Yeah, I can see that, because, yeah, looking back at it, I mean, I didn't move back to the States until 2003. So for me, like, our primary one was Cartoon Network. I was in American age middle school at that point.
I mean,
so,
it had some solid runs.
Well, I mean, and even then, like, mainly when I watched Cartoon Network, it was Toonami and early anime Adult Swim when I was up when I shouldn't have been.
Stayed up till 11.
Yeah. Again, throwing parents under the bus seems to be the theme of this podcast, but
it sure seems.
My mom didn't realize I was doing that and what I was watching, so
yeah, because, like, no, it's just cartoons.
Oh,
but, like, we were staying up way too late for the not safe cartoons.
Yeah.
No, I remember Toonami fondly.
Oh no, I got way into, like, this is back when, like, I got into Neon Genesis Evangelion, Wolf's Raid, and stuff like that.
Hell yeah, you gotta stay up late for those shows.
Yeah, every Friday. Sorry, Mom. But yeah, Nickelodeon was honestly our second choice, because we didn't really care for Disney, minus, like, the weird one out, like Kim Possible.
Yeah, the other thing was, like, there was a lot of Disney that was, like, starting to be live action. Nickelodeon was almost all live action. For, like, they had their cartoons, of course they did, but, like, as far as, like, exciting shows that were, like, trying to compete with like the like young high school teenage sort of range. A lot of them were like sitcoms but for kids.
Yeah.
And most of my friend group, we weren't really into sitcoms for kids. We could watch adult sitcoms without any like repercussions.
Yeah, well,
so
I think because
we found them kind of dull.
Well, I think part of that was because I don't know if this was the case for you, but like growing up watching Seinfeld, watching like Scrubs and stuff. Like,
yeah, we grew up watching Seinfeld and Scrubs and like that 80s show. Or that 70s show.
That 80s show is another abomination.
That is another abomination. I apologize profusely. No, we watched that 70s show. And so, like, the humor for those, like, we felt like, oh, that's the cool kid humor. Because, like, that's the adult humor. And so, like, Nickelodeon's shows, we always kind of skipped over for the most part. But their movies, somehow, despite being worse and having less production value than Disney's, always seemed to hit different. They were always like more entertaining.
Well, I mean, because at this point we had Good Burger, and I think there was one other. It was like some detective chick movie.
Probably. Yeah, that sounds about right.
I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but like they all just hit. They are really weird and different out of the place. Because like this one specifically, the weirdness not necessarily comes from the fact that it's a kids movie.
No,
it comes from the fact that there are 4 stories. One we forgot.
Yeah, we totally forgot about.
But they're all going in different directions with different goals. And for as short as this movie is, I think it's just under like an hour and a half, hour 29.
Yeah.
They jam-pack so much crap into it that you don't end up caring about anyone.
No, this movie is constant.
Yeah.
And there's always something happening.
Well, and I mean, granted, there's been years between it too. And I forgot so much about this movie. Like, who keeps snowballs for a year? Also,
good question. There's a lot of like made up kid lore and humor that went into this film that like even when we were like the age of these kids, we were like, nobody does that. But I don't care.
I mean, it fits for the kid portion of the movie. But we're also in upstate New York. There be snow in these lands.
There's so much snow.
Yeah, but then also like there's all these little moments of like the ankle bracelet of destiny. And
like a random love plot that has nothing. Like,
I mean,
jelly snow nuts has nothing to do with this movie, but I will never forget jelly snow nuts.
I kind of forgot about all of
the kid has a lunchbox full of food-themed snowballs.
I'll take the piss ball as being food-themed.
I think he meant it to be taken as food themed.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing is, like, almost all these plots really go nowhere. Because on top of that, like, there's all weird little things of, like, weird Dragon Ball Z, stop animation, Thundercats bullshit things.
There's so many references that have nothing to do with anything, but they're also not, like, significant enough for you to be like, oh, yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, well, I had a back in my day moment, like, I forgot that, like, the sitting and watching the TV and radio for snow days.
Yes.
Like, that was a thing.
Yeah, now they just text you.
Yeah. But yeah, back to this romance plot. One, I will say the one thing I think this movie gets done quite well right. Okay. Is the teenagers.
I agree. I think that's part of the reason why this movie, despite me, like, not rewatching it almost ever, I remember it. Like, I remember certain parts of it, and part of that was because, like, the teenagers' dialogue was surprisingly good.
Yeah, they're very awkward. Hal is quite creepy, but at the same time, teenage boys are kind of creepy and gross.
Teenagers in general are creepy and gross. Some are just better at hiding it than others. And, like, the other thing that I liked about this was none of the teenagers looked like 30-year-old adults trying to pretend to be a teenager. Like, there's no hello, my fellow kids happening in this film.
Looks-wise, I didn't look up their ages at least.
Me neither.
But they could have easily been, because, I mean, that honestly kind of was the thing for the time, too.
It really was. And, like, a lot of the times it would be, like, most of the cast were younger, but, like, still over that teenage range, which is fine. I get it. But then you'd get, like, one person, you're like, whoa, that is definitely a 50-year-old man pretending to be a kid.
Yeah, or, okay, you're at least at college age at this point.
You were a 30-year-old woman, you were not 16.
Yeah, no, I get that. But, like, yeah, I mean, honestly, and that's the weird thing with this movie, though, is that it all works for the teenage plot. If that was
if that was
only plot.
Yes, if it was just the kids' plot, this movie would probably be better, but it'd be too short to be a movie.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think that's probably what it was, is they had like one or two inklings of a movie idea and just stopped. And they're like, okay, we don't know how to fully develop this. We're going to scatter this out to all age ranges.
Yeah. And like, that's kind of the weird part too, is like each subplot, theoretically, I could see working.
Yes.
But there's not enough there, at least with what we've seen, at least from this movie, to like round it out into anything more than maybe a TV show.
Yeah.
Like one episode TV show.
Yeah, or a pilot to a TV show or something. But, I mean, running it off of a trailer called Snow Day doesn't work.
That's very true.
But, I mean, I the one thing that sticks out with me for the teenagers for this was the French Fry Log Cabin.
Of course.
That carried over with me into teenageship.
And also, like, that just feels like the sort of thing that, like, as a teenager, that is teenage humor. Mm-hmm. Like, that is the sort of, like, random and weird that, like, actually would have been part of our world.
It's like Max's friend in the Goofy movie, the Leaning Tower of Cheesa.
Yes, correct. And then just eating an entire thing of spray cheese out of the canister.
Yeah.
That is perfect representation of teenagers and like young adult. That's the level of stupid, and this movie does it really well.
Yeah.
Like, none of them are like the perfect teenage representation.
No.
But there's also not like a hello brother, hello sister, high five. Sort of like,
no, that's the other thing, the sibling relationship. They're assholes to each other, and it's great.
They are total dicks to each other, but like in like a very believable way. This movie, despite having pretty much all flaws, does get the dialogue and like the character interactions really well.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, even though they go into like the stereotypical route of Lane being kind of the best friend who kind of band geekish girl.
Yeah.
You have the high school bully, and Claire's life must be an absolute living hell with everyone chasing after her.
Of course. Yeah, no, it's full of just, like, the stupidest stereotypes.
Yeah.
But, like, the second you remove, like, the narrator's version of the story happening, it all flows together really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if you break this movie into its little components, it probably would have worked better as, like, an anthology movie.
I agree, but, like, what Nickelodeon kids movie is an anthology movie?
Exactly. And even then, I feel anthology movies have only become, like, more prevalent.
I think they have moved more from the purely academic to entertainment more recently than this movie.
Yeah, true, because, yeah. I don't know. I don't watch too many anthologies.
There's nothing academic about this film.
God, no. And what would it be if it was an academic show?
Well, see, but that's the thing, though. Like, there's the underlying idea of, like, how Snow Day impacts people could potentially work. But this whole movie takes this, like, out of left field premise of, like, we must stop the evil snowplow man who's just doing his goddamn job.
Yeah, it probably would have gotten in the route of, like, I'm thinking of the only thing that I can come to mind is, like, God's Not Dead.
Yes.
That
bullshit, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's almost like a weird cult. This is like the kid cult. But
yeah.
For Snow Days, which, like, don't get me wrong, as a kid, Snow Days were like the magical treat that we all hoped and dreamed for. But when there was a snow day, there was not like hordes of children out in my neighborhood, and I lived across the street from the school. So it's not like I didn't have kids in my neighborhood.
I don't think I had a snow day until I was in 7th grade.
Boy, that's rough.
Well, no, scratch that. We had one in Alaska, but it was because it was a whiteout blizzard during the day. That's the only time I had a snow day up until then. And then I moved to Nebraska. We had like a week of snow days, and I'm like, what is this?
Uh-huh. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so completely different perspective for me. But nonetheless, let's talk about the sister.
Oh, yes.
In this plot with the snow plow man.
The theoretically the like main plot. And I only say it's the main plot because it's the plot that I think everyone remembers this movie for. And
actually like carries through to the end of the movie.
And also she actually gets a conclusion to. Because half of these plots don't really have an end.
Hell gets a conclusion. Well, no, they all have conclusions.
They're just shitty conclusions.
They're just quickly overshadowed by everything else.
Yeah, this kid beating up and kidnapping a man's pet definitely overshadows that.
Yeah, well, and also like the way they go about it, it makes it feel like kind of what was that? What was that Cartoon Network show about the secret agent kids?
Spy Next Door, or.
You know which one I'm talking about. It had the bald kid and they were like...
Yes, and they all had numbers.
Treehouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. But it felt like that where like they were all like just a little too cool for like how awkward that age is.
Yes,
like,
they were all synchronized.
They had the snow fort where they already brought in the bean bags. They were wiring through it. They had an escape hatch that they all got done in 30 minutes.
I would like to hire these children to come work for me because they were so organized, so on top of it.
Yes.
They managed to get more done than I have gotten done in my entire life.
Oh, yeah.
In one snow day. It was impressive.
Yeah, and I think that's why it sticks with us because probably the age we were when this was... Oh, sorry. Probably the age we were when it was coming out was about that age where like we were in between, like we were kind of coming out of elementary school and just like...
Yeah, and like you definitely wanted, like that was the idea.
Yeah.
Like when you had a snow day, that was like your dream was like, yeah, we're gonna build a snow fort. It's gonna have all of the things. We're gonna have like a couch built into it. We're gonna run an extension cord from the house out there. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
And then in real life, you realize that you can barely make a snowball, let alone a whole snow fort with just you and your sibling because there's no one else.
Oh yeah, I forget you guys don't get as much snow as Alaska.
We got... like, I've made snow forts, but you had to wait for the snowplow to go by to pile it up for you.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember trying to do that. I'm thinking of, like, in Alaska, we had, like, 6 feet of snow.
You could just jump out your, like, second floor window and have a snow fort.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not in the Midwest. You had to get some assistance.
Yeah, I kind of forget about some of that stuff, but, yeah, I mean, her story is the most conclusive, and probably... the most interesting, I guess.
It's definitely the most fantastical.
Yeah.
Because everyone else's, while awkward, is incredibly believable. And honestly, I think that's why hers stands out and why I remember this movie as the snowplow movie. Because her taking on this city employee who's just trying to, shovel the streets.
To be fair, he's gross and he's an asshole, so of course
he is a dick, and there's like the kid rumor right around that he runs children over.
Yeah, you get the urban legends and all that around him.
And then on top of that, because like that was one of the like good tropes that Home Alone did, was like, oh, the creepy old man, like he puts the bodies in the salt, and then turns out the guy's actually a normal old man.
This one, not so much in that regard.
No.
He straps Josh Bell to the front of his snowplow.
Yes, he fucking does. Which is why the bonkersness of this plot works. Mm-hmm. Because if it had turned out that this was a normal-ass man, and even if he was a jerk, but he was still a normal man, not running children over with his truck, then you wouldn't really, like, care as much, I don't think. But because both adult and child are on another lane of stupidity, this bit where she spends all of her snow day trying to take this man down has to round up a Mongolian-style herd of kids on bikes to take on this man in war.
Yeah, pretty much.
She kidnaps his pet bird.
Well... and then on top of that, like, straps him to a pole so that way she can get out. Okay, so here's a couple things.
Yeah.
I have questions about part of her story.
Oh, same.
I get it's the most fanciful.
It is, definitely, yeah.
The first thing I call bullshit on.
Okay.
At the beginning of the movie, when the snow day is called, there are 0 children plow or shoveling the driveways.
That is bullshit.
That is bullshit.
That is bullshitty. I remember waking up being like, is today the day? Do I get a snow day off? And if it was announced, I was immediately handed a shovel.
Yep.
The other thing that I call a little bit of bullshit on is I understand her desire for, like, if I stop... Like, I understand the kid logic of if I stop the snowplow, thus I get a second snow day.
Yeah.
And the way that this movie does a good job of, like, kid logicking it around it is, like, we are introduced to the principal. I think it's the principal or the teacher.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna... It's the principal of the school, which you completely... He's only in the beginning and the very end of the movie.
This poor man needs to just hide in his house. He's hated by the entire community, apparently.
I think just the kids.
No one's protecting him. There's
mean,
adults looking at their children out the window. There is a stay-at-work-at-home mom just trying to bond with her kid who is also stuck in the house, and she can see the man.
She's not a work-at-home mom.
Oh, she's a workaholic, but she's stuck at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is way before you could work at home.
Which, honestly, I did want to bring that up a little bit later.
Oh, yeah, no, this movie has become obsolete.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot make this movie anymore.
No, like, she's sitting there, like, on her computer, on his, like, Skype call. Yes. With crystal clear imagery and, like, all kinds of bullshit pulled up.
Yes.
But yes, no, back to the principal.
Yeah, like, the kid logic to this movie is, the principal lives in my neighborhood, and so if he can't get to work, no one's going to school. Which, while I love that logic, as an adult, I go, that's fucking bullshit. The school council is the one who, like, decides if we get a snow day or not, and it doesn't matter if the principal can show up. Yeah. It matters a little bit, but it's not enough to be like, if I beat up this man and his pet, I will get a second snow day.
Well, it's not just that, because how the movie concludes is she tries to unplow.
Yeah, no, she successfully unplows, because it ends with a second snow day.
Which I don't
understand how she unplows the streets either, and I watched it happen twice.
Yeah. And there's cars still on the road. And on top of that, they're walking down the middle of a very plowed street.
Yeah. That was one of the things that, like, I know why we didn't do it, but I would have liked it, was when she goes to unplow it, like, half of the joke with, like, snowplows, especially when this came out, which would have been the beginning death of America's Funniest Home Videos. And half of those videos during the wintertime were snowplows just running over cars and street signs and mailboxes because they either weren't paying attention or they couldn't see them because of the snow. She is now trying to take all the snow that this snowplow pushed off of the road and put it back on the road. This girl is running over, like, trees and bushes and stuff. She has to have been. But of course, the movie doesn't show that because that would have been irresponsible and not like a good ending.
Well, and
that would have been funny.
Well, on top of that, they're not going to get away with it. The snowplow man goes to her house. He knows where she lives.
He knows where they all live.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like, there's no, like, other than the principal, who's a giant pushover, there is no authority figures in this movie.
No.
Yes, there are parents. The parents don't do shit.
I will correct you in a minute about authority in air quote figures.
Sure, yeah. But this is
let's talk.
This is early 2000s kid logic where there's, like, no one watching these children.
Yeah,
at all. Like, they are free to just steal a vehicle
and be out late at night unplowing an entire city.
Yes, because it's the way that the movie, like, phrases it is like, oh, she just did her street because all, like, 30 kids live on her block along with the principal. But in reality, like, this has to be at least a neighborhood. Yeah. At least a neighborhood that she drove around unplowing in the middle of the night.
Yeah. And then, I mean, on top of that, they become the snowman. She saves her brother by almost plowing over the school bully.
That's true. She almost kills him. She almost becomes her worst enemy.
Exactly. And I think that's why, like, where her story is better looking at it as an adult. Because,
it's complete nonsense, and I love it.
But it's enjoyable because,
it's kind of like those lies that kids tell you that you, like, are like, really, that's the lie you're going with, huh? That's the truth. That's the hill you're dying on? Okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
And it just keeps spiraling into more crazy lies as they realize they've been caught. That's what this feels like.
This is like my brother Christian and I, our youngest brother. It is snow related and ice related.
Fucking course it is.
We told my youngest brother back in elementary school that it wasn't iceberg that like the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
It was a narwhal stuck in the ice, and it was the horn that did it. He swears we did it, and both Christian and I are like, yeah, we did, because you came home mad at us. It's that kind of logic where
it is that kind of kid logic where like no one questions it. It just continues to be more and more extreme and stupid.
If you tell it to an adult, it's just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
But instead of like putting the brakes on at any point of this subplot, they just let it go.
Yep.
They just let it run its full course, and in the end, the children are rewarded for this stupidity.
Exactly. And so, on to the adults.
Yeah, because there are adults in this film, somehow.
Yeah. Let's talk about the mom real quickly.
Yeah, well, very quickly, because she barely does anything.
And their child who's a menace, who I can't remember the kid's name.
Okay, not gonna lie.
Randy.
Yeah.
Randy.
All of the children blend together, not gonna lie to you. The only two that stand out to me are Snowplow Warrior Queen and Desperately in Love with the Wrong Girl.
Yeah, they're quite different. There's a lot of kids.
There is a lot of kids. They are all unique. But at the same time, I don't care.
Yeah. Also, I'm glad the mom is like a very small portion of this movie.
She
because
really is.
Hers is her entire plot is just like, take a fucking day off, woman.
Yes. And like as an adult now, I can see how like that could be a good plot point.
Yeah.
It is not a good plot point for a kid movie though. Because kids don't like 99% of kids are not going to understand this concept of I am literally forced to take a day off because of snow. And I refuse to take a day off.
So here's the thing. I'm a workaholic myself, so...
Yes, I mean, we both are architects. We are the worst of examples.
Technically not, but...
Well, we work as one.
Designers.
We do their job.
For those, yeah, we'll get...
We will not get into the nitty-gritty of what we are legally allowed to call ourselves.
Exactly. We'll do that in the Fountainhead whenever we do that garbage movie.
Oh, no. We're gonna spend the whole time ranting about that goddamn movie.
But, yeah, so her entire plot is basically the workaholic mother plot of every garbage Christmas movie, where instead of, like, going to...
Instead of going back to her small town home where she meets the Christmas tree farmer who happens to be really hot now.
Yes.
She stays at home with her kid and learns that, like, maybe she can work from home.
Work from home, or maybe she needs to take some time off to reconnect with her family for once.
Yes.
Yeah, or, reconnection. That's basically the whole plot of all this bullshit.
Which we know can be done well as, like, an overarching movie.
Yeah.
It's not your and I's taste, but, like, there's plenty of people who do enjoy that sort of romance movie. And we also know that it is possible to incorporate that sort of character into kids' stuff and have it work. Because the Rugrats, Jessica Pickles' mom, is the definition of a freaking workaholic.
Yeah.
And she's not a temporary character. She is a constant throughout that whole series. In fact, I think the Paris one is like 99% about Jessica and her mom's relationship.
I don't remember.
Did you ever watch the Rugrats Go to Paris? It was garbage.
I did. That's actually one of the Nickelodeon movies I'm pretty sure I saw in Europe.
That would have been glorious to see in Europe.
I know I saw it. I just can't tell you the time frame of like when it came out to when I saw it. I know I've seen it.
I understand, but like it's a good example of like we can do workaholic parents in a both believably from an adult's perspective and also have the kids understand that they are being ridiculous and silly.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't really bother to try super hard, though. Because, like, the end conclusion is, like you said, I should spend more time with my family and my kids, especially. But I have also successfully worked from home. Like, she does get a full days of work in. It's not good work. Because this is the early 2000s, and we only have Skype available to us and Facebook Messenger.
We're just out of Y2K.
We really, like, fresh out of Y2K. Like, we are still in floppy disk era.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that this woman got anything done on a snow day with dial-up internet, amazing. Good for her.
You just reminded me, this is the era of VHS. We rented these movies on VHS. This wasn't DVD.
And, like, granted, like, yes, there were DVDs, but those were, like, the thing of the future and also, like, probably temporary.
I think laser discs were still, like, the big thing.
I remember, like, my parents being like, no, we're not buying the DVD because in a few years it's a fad and it's not going to be around anymore. So we bought the VHS tape of everything. And now I have an entire wall of VHS tapes.
It's an impressive wall.
Thank you. Thank you.
But yeah, so the mom does really nothing for the movie.
No.
Her plot point's very minimal, but it gets through all of them. It gets the kid that can't go out on their own and aren't independent and the
Again,
mother of
would have been a good
family.
solo episode to like a TV show.
If that.
Like a little hint plot in like the wintertime special to a normal TV show that's already established and has nothing to do with snow days normally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But the only other real adult in this movie is the dad, played by Chevy Chase.
Yeah. Yeah, an interesting choice to have Chevy Chase play the dad figure.
I think he's fine in it. He just feels like he's reprising his role as
all the other dads.
Yeah. The Vacation. Yeah, but the thing that I think is weird about his plot is the war he has with the other weatherman.
Yes.
And all the other like random weird shit that pops up of
I not gonna lie, even though I watched this movie just this week on Wednesday, I had forgotten that he was at war with the other weatherman.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, like his part is why like this movie is so all over the place and weird, because he's covering first off the snow day, but also he's covering some people sliding down a hill. He's also covering the
everywhere
chainsaw snow art competition, where it's like, where the hell did all this shit pop up from?
They have like 2 reporters and he's the one on the field today.
Yeah.
And like if it was just like blips of him like highlighting or even like tying the movie from one location to the other for the snowball fight or the sledding scene, I could believe it and I would probably like be like, yeah, okay, that's a clever way of tying all of this together.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of using him as a like transition device, they give him a whole plot where he has to prove that the other weatherman from a different station is not a real weatherman.
Well, and even the way he does it, granted, I mean, this is where technically there's an authoritative figure, but it's not towards the children.
It's for other adults.
But it's very much like his plot is the professional versus the personality.
Yeah, and like, again, it's not that I dislike this subplot. I just don't understand why it has anything to do with the rest of this movie.
It has nothing to do with it.
Like, this would be a great subplot for, again, an already established TV show that, like an early 90s TV show.
Yeah.
Where we're following the family. Like, I hate to say it, but like a Tim Allen's TV show where, like, now we have to prove the other other channel doesn't know what they're talking about. That's where this story belongs.
Yeah.
Not a whole plot in a movie.
Oh, yeah. It just... I agree. His plot really goes nowhere. And even then, like, his whole bringing up of, like, so where does snow come from? It's like, what even is this? Where does this come from? Like, why are you even questioning whether this man knows his job or not?
Yeah, and, like, granted, we've already established in the movie that we can go over the top and have these crazy kid-logicked adventures.
Mm-hmm.
And we start to do that with the dad figure. And then we stop and let it live at just stupid adult level. Instead of reaching for the stars and going full idiotic.
Hey, you know what? It's a snow day. Anything can happen.
Okay, I will state that I do love that they, like, try and throw this, like, they constantly are informing you that, like, snow days are magical. And anything is possible on a snow day. And then with the exception of stealing a snowplow, literally the only things that happen are normal activities. There is no magic that happens.
No, not at all.
In fact, I'd argue the opposite of magic happens a couple times.
Well, the magic of love.
Okay, this is my favorite subplot. Because to me, this is the, like, most realistic one. Not just from, like, oh, yes, I can see that happening to high school-aged kids. But also, like, this one would have been something, like, as a high school kid, I would have been more interested in this plot and the snowplow plot than any of the other plots.
Yeah, no, you could remove the adults from this movie and give a little bit extra and it'd be good. Or you could add another child in there and they were going on some other journey. But because it's all in one household, it goes nowhere. And it just feels like, again, like I said at the beginning of this episode, It feels like they just had these threads and they're like, all right, family, snow day, they all go do their thing.
Yes.
But we're not really going to interweave them until like, and the only way they only get interwoven is at the very end, and it's only between the siblings.
And even then it's light.
Yeah, which the whole...
barely there.
The whole stupid ending of like, you saved me, well, here's your reward.
Yeah, it's, again, very lightly tied together.
Yeah, it's
but I like...
It's a movie.
Yes. I will say, though, I like the direction that they decided to go with for the romance plot, because there is the standard stereotypical, like, oh, she's such the perfect angel, I'm going to win her love with some dumb random act of machismo, which in this case is taking a snowplow and creating her favorite animal in the snow. Which it turns out not to even be her favorite animal. Which, that's beautiful. I love that.
I actually do like that part of the movie.
I love that part of the movie, because that's the perfect logic.
Yeah.
Like, that's high school kid brain logic.
Her favorite animal is on her ankle bracelet. So
that she lost in the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was specifically a sperm whale. Not even just whales. Sperm whale.
I mean, it kind of ties in. There's that really creepy line of, need something new to do? How about me?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of, like, I clearly heard this on TV and I didn't know what to do with it lines. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get it. And I do actually like that the magic of his story happening is he does get his chance, and he realizes it's not the chance that he really wants.
I also appreciate that, like, especially for a kids movie, that, like, most kids movies with romance, if the girl is the awkward one and, like, doesn't know how to approach the guy, it's usually like, she's awkward, she's clumsy, but teehee, she's also the most beautiful girl at school and nobody notices.
Yeah, Lane never changes her appearance. Yeah, it's not like the Princess Diaries or
like half of the Disney movies.
I haven't gotten that far, so
well,
I haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet.
You know what, next Christmas, if you get tired of Christmas films, you just start on that Disney Channel list. Because, like, yeah, that's kind of how it is. And, like, it's a funny trope that at this point all of us know and, like, has moved its way into, like, books. That's now kind of the, like, book trope is like, oh, I'm interesting, but nobody knows that main character. She doesn't change herself at all. She doesn't, like, have this magical transformation. She doesn't get dressed up for prom and suddenly take her glasses off and, like, wow, Velma, you were hot this whole time. No, she stays the same. And on top of that, she gives her advice at the beginning of the movie. And she doesn't deviate from that advice.
No.
She doesn't, like, put in extra effort. She lets the kid figure out, like, hey, dating is more than just being attracted to her.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a great subplot, and the way they delivered it works really well, and doesn't creep out the, like, inner kid in me, where, like, you know how you watch some plots and you're like, oh, that's a good lesson that an adult wrote for a child? This one feels like, yes, an adult wrote this for a child, but as a child, I would have still believed this subplot. I still would have, like, followed along and been like, oh, they're together in the end.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have been upset. You know?
Yeah, no, it definitely appeals to a certain group of, like, teenagers who are, like, they are that somewhat awkward but still confident in who they are kind of thing. And they're not the school, for lack of a better term from anime, the school princess or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, that's not the new girl with the giant big of lahukapas. Like, nothing changes about her. She's, at no point does she, like, have to prove herself to him. And he doesn't even change either. He just has the realization of, like, I like hanging out with you.
Yeah, I think she does change a little bit because she becomes more forward. She's kind of at her end's rope of, like, okay, I've done this enough. I've been throwing against your way, buddy.
Yeah. No, like, but, like, she doesn't have to, in front of the audience, like, have this magical princess transformation. She just, like, gives him, like, the final push out the door, being like, look, do you like hanging out with them? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, then why are you trying to date them?
Exactly. Yeah, it's a mess.
It is a mess, but it's a glorious mess.
a mess with inkling or sprinklings of...
Yes, a light shower of entertainment.
Yeah.
And honestly, despite it being bad, I still had fun watching it.
I did too.
I was
just
entertained.
for giving it shit.
Yeah, no, like, I'm glad you're the one who owns this on DVD, but if this showed up on, like if I was scrolling in a hotel and this showed up, I'd definitely watch it.
Yeah, I mean, if there's nothing better on TV...
Like, I would watch this over turning the TV off.
Yeah, and this is someone who, like, when I go to a hotel, I prefer to have a book or something with me instead of TV.
Same. I normally, like, am not I will just put something on because I need the noise. Mm-hmm. But honestly, like, I had a good time watching this. Yeah. It was stupid. It was funny. I laughed the whole way through, mostly at the movie, but, you know, it's close enough.
I just sat there and, like, how did this get made again? Kind of, like...
Oh, yeah, no. So we briefly mentioned that they remade this. I learned that it didn't just get remade. It got remade into a musical. The information I heard is that the new version is a musical. I have not seen the new version to confirm this, but now it has piqued my interest, and I will be watching the new version despite not loving the first one.
I'll be watching it at some point too, but it will appear on the show, but not until I get my musical in.
That's fair. That is totally fair.
So, Chris, rent, buy, stream, or decline that we ever watch this despite having an audio recording of us watching it.
I hate to say this, but this is Redbox rent level.
I'd rent or stream it?
Yeah, like, I'd pay like $2 or $3 to watch this again.
Paramount Plus, I assume?
I would assume so, but even if it's not, like, I'd pay for that YouTube movie rental fee.
I'd make nephews and nieces watch it.
Yeah, like, I'm probably gonna make, like, on a girls' night when we're watching stupid movies, and be like, we're gonna throw this sucker on. Y'all gotta see this.
You remember this movie?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it's gonna feel like. Because, like, yes, this movie isn't possible in the real world scenario. Like, no. We have too much technology, we've come too far. But at the same time, it's not like nostalgia in the same way that, like, a lot of other Disney movies are, where, like, oh, this was actually good, you forgot about it. Or, this is so bad, oh my god, you know, Avatar The Last Airbender bad. This is just funny.
Okay.
I'm not going to rent it frequently. No. But I will rent it at least, like, one more time.
I'll throw it on if the kids are over and they're at that age where they can't watch the normal stuff we watch.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely.
But, anywho, this has been The Good, the Bad, and the Weird MicroViews.
Thanks for listening.
Peace. Thank you for stopping by this here town of The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or TGTBTW for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always, check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace.